This is a Channel Africa podcast. You can also get Channel Africa on satellite PAS10, DSTV audio bouquet 802, and OpenView bouquet channel 628.
And joining us in the studio is a star in the making. I believe he's already a star. His name is Rito Chuma, and he's a motivational speaker who has done quite an extensive amount of work. I believe he's also an author, an activist, and carpenter. Now, your story is really interesting, and you've detailed it out in a book, Rito. Hello, how are you?
Good, how are you, Sheila?
I am fantastic. I'm excited. I think the first thing I was saying before you got here is that I wish I had someone who was a motivational speaker and a chemical engineer coming to my university in my first year. You know, when I'm struggling, when the edge has got you sweating every night, someone's like, you can do it. Talk to me about the interaction you had with your first and second year students as you were advising them and really truly uplifting them in their studies.
Well, thank you for the question, Sheila. And I would like to welcome your listeners as well. Can we call it the Clearly Blurry Show?
Come on. Listen, at this point, you want to take my show, it's fine. Because you've done a lot of things, now you just want to come and do something here as well. No, my brother. No. Yes.
All right. No, apologies. I was just joking on that.
No.
So how it started, I started in 2019.
Yes.
Where I started going to UJ, which is the university I graduated at, whereby I felt like I needed to give back. You know, when I was a student, you were basically lost. You know, in your first year, you lost. You don't know what's what. You don't know what you want. You just happy. I'm accepted at this university.
Yes.
Next thing you know, you fail. You know.
Sure.
You don't have a sense of direction. So what I thought was like, I've been there. I know what they're going through. Let me go back and give them a bit of my experiences, and hopefully most of them get to learn. So you asked in terms of how was the interaction. The students are really good. I was doing one annual guest lecture this year, just before the book launch, and it was amazing. They were very interacting, also giving me ideas, you know, with 4AR and stuff. So I got to learn as well. Yeah.
The story before you in university starts off in Limpopo.
Yes.
Right? And your first book, Clearly Blurry, talks about your upbringing. What can we expect in this book?
The Clearly Blurry, the first one, A Story Worth Telling, details how I grew up in the rural villages of Limpopo and Guyana, and basically how my journey moves from there to Soweto, where I later went on, and how I went to work in Cape Town. So it basically gives you a sense of my upbringing, the hardships that I faced growing up, which I feel a lot of African children face to this day. You know, the upbringing of the African child is a difficult one. So I felt, let me bring my experiences to the front. Let me try to inspire someone, you know, wherever you are, whatever situation you are at, you can always get out of it, and I've done that.
Wow. And some of the reviews speak about people being brought to tears when reading the book. How does that make you feel when you're telling your truth, but when the next person hears it, there's this emotional sort of response, and people are just using emotive words to describe how they feel about your book? How does that make you feel?
You know, I write in the beginning of the second book, Clearly Blurry 2, Inherently a Leader, that writing Clearly Blurry 1, I never thought I would reach such a lot of people with it. You know, I wrote the book basically hoping to reach just one person, you know, out there who's in a bad space and needed upliftment. So I ended up, I didn't even think I'll sell the book. I published it during the lockdown, you know, level 5. And I put it up on my socials, and people went crazy. We want your book, you know. They bought it, they read it, and the reviews brought me to tears as well, you know. But what inspired me is how people felt about it, and they encouraged me to say, we want the second one. So hence now we are on Clearly Blurry 2.
Okay, now talk to me about Clearly Blurry 2, Inherently a Leader.
Yeah. Thank you for the question as well, Sheila. I heard you saying motivational speaker. You know, I just wanted, I don't know if it will sound controversial. I believe that motivational speakers, they give you the oomph as you're listening to them, and when they leave, you go back home, you realize, damn, my fridge is empty. I can't still start the business, you know. So I would like to see myself as an inspirational leader who speaks. I don't know if it makes sense. in a sense that through my experiences, my real experiences that I put up in the books that I write, I'm inspiring someone to say, you have a gift that's hidden. Come, find a way to get it out. So that's what the book does. It helps you to look deep into yourself and find out what you're really good at and how you can bring it to the fore and play a positive role in society.
So I want us to get into a break, but when we get back, we're going to be looking at how you dug into yourself, you know, how you unpacked and unearthed your capabilities and how you're now shining. You're an entrepreneur, an author, a speaker. Apparently, we must say you're a leader who speaks. You know, you're doing a lot of things. Let's get into this one.
This is The Upside for the best African vibes, groundbreaking content.
21 minutes after 4 p.m. Central African time. If you've just joined us, welcome to it. This is Channel Africa. We bring you that African perspective in all matters concerning life, truly speaking. We're also talking to Rito Chuma, who is an author, a speaker. You said I shouldn't say motivational speaker, so I'm just going to leave it at speaker, a thought leader, if anything, and an activist. Now, Rito, in your journey, you've done, and I keep on emphasizing you doing a lot because it's not in one sphere that you focused your energy. Yes. You spread yourself apart. Yes. You know, you've done things around the lines of being part of a union, and starting that union and fighting for workers in that union. You've spoken to children who are trying to get to a place where they have a degree. You know, you've written books, you're inspiring nations. Talk to me about you unearthing all these things in terms of your journey. When was it? And this is quite hard to ask because you've dabbled in so much. Yes. But when did you know that your life was purposed for more? And by more, I mean everything.
Well, thank you for that question. I think for me, it's not one thing specifically, but the one thing I will attribute everything is the loss of my mom in 2013. She was a best friend to me. You know, she was my life coach. She was my navigation basically. And when she left, I realized I'm alone. You know, I'm by myself. I have nobody. And I started to look at life differently. And I was like, no, man, I have to work on something. I have to build something of my own. I have to make sure that I create an environment for my children that I never had, you know. And through doing that, I realized there's so many other children out there, same as my children, who need what I have to offer. And for me, that is the biggest motivator, you know.
Now, you said something along the lines of motivators or motivational speakers, rather, give you that oomph, they give you the zest in the moment. But when you're alone, confined to your own space, you go back into that shell where you're like, my reality is not that motivation. How do you break away from your own reality in order for you to search for what is deeper, that lives in you, that can give you all the desires you want?
Wow, that's a very big question. It's very big and deep. I'm a firm believer. So for me, whatever I do links with faith. So if I'm starting a business, I do it without thinking, what if it fails? You know, so I go all out. When I do my carpentry, I just go all out. I started it. I just learned that I've got this skill of carpentry. I didn't know I have it. You know, when I started the union, I didn't know I'm gifted in that way, but because I'm always genuine in whatever I do and I put faith behind everything, it sort of helps me to get through a lot of things and to get a lot of things done. So for example, when I started the union, I just looked at the environment I was at and realized, no man, workers don't feel free to speak in their workspace. You know, workers feel if you raise a voice in the workspace, if you are not happy, you will be victimized, you will be fired, and a lot of things. And I thought, man, let's debunk that mystery, you know. So, and that's how I started the union. And I was like, no, man, we need to change things around this. And we started the union. Later, before it could even be established, retrenchments were announced, and I had to now go on my feet, you know. So went on to the negotiation table, represented the workers, and we were not winning. So we were like, as a leader, you must show, you must be bold, you must not just talk. You must not motivate, you must inspire, you know. So I felt it's my role to inspire the workers to stand up for themselves, to fight for their jobs, and fight they did with my leadership, of course, and the rest is history.
Now, here's the one thing that I find really interesting about your story is that I see the writing aspect coming to be. It could even be a journal process, where you're detailing out your own personal experiences and you compile these journals into a book and they formulate something beautiful. I see the speaking, I see the motivation. How did carpentry come? What was going on?
That's a funny one. And I laugh when I think about it, sitting in the lockdown level 5, not doing anything, not being able to work. I just sat there and my wife was like, Papa, can you make a coffee table? Look at that thing we are using, Like, yeah, I can, the male bravado, So bought wood, and started working on it. She was so impressed with the final product. I was even shocked. It's like, yo, this is beautiful. Please do a TV stand for me. I did it, and it came out classy. When we put it out, people loved it. And I was like, so I'm a carpenter as well. So that's how it came about.
No, wait. You can't go that quickly through the story, right?
Yeah.
The reality of carpentry is that it's one thing to carve out the shape of something. It's another to have the beautiful finish, to know to put galvanize on top, to create structures that look gorgeous. Did you use anything to aid you, like YouTube, or was it from your brain?
That's the interesting part about me.
Yeah.
Everything I do, I don't refer first. When I started writing a book, I didn't read someone's book and say, this is how you write the book. I wrote, published, and then listened to what people say. And that is the genuine part of it. And that's why, for me, it's able to inspire. So when I started the carpentry, I didn't go to YouTube. I know there's YouTube. You can learn a lot of things. I did it myself using my brain. I think a lot of times for me, how I work, ideas just come to my mind. And whatever comes, I put it into action. I remember I did a piece once for a client. And he was surprised because when we were planning, I was just listening to him. Oh, okay. And after that, I said, okay, we need this and this and this. We went to buy that. I created exactly what he imagined. And it's like, you didn't even draw it. How do you do that? And I'm like, everything for me is in my head. I keep it here. So you talked about writing journals. I don't do that. I don't. I don't. So when I start writing a book, the concept comes and the faith comes as well. I listen to myself a lot. I spend a lot of time with myself. And for me, that's inspirational because when I'm in touch with myself, I'm able to give out the best of me.
My goodness, I'm stunned. I am stunned. Wow. Rito Chuma in the building, an author, a speaker, a carpenter, an activist. And we don't even know what is yet to follow because the reality is you say all these things come from inside you.
Yes.
If you have any questions for this genius in studio, please feel free to find us on social media. On Twitter, it is at Channel Africa 1. On WhatsApp, +27 63 406 9126. On Facebook, we are available too. Look out for the page Channel Africa. And lastly, if you want to call in this afternoon and have a conversation, +27 86 0003620. As I sit with you in studio, Rito, I feel like you're watching me, and then after the show, you're going to have a show of your own.
We are on OpenView Audio Bouquet, Channel 628. Channel Africa, the African perspective.
So I have Rito Chuma, an author, a speaker, an activist, a speaking, inspirational individual, a unicorn, if you would say, and I think the one thing that makes you so unique is your ability to trust in self. We were just talking about it how innovation and invention have become two separate and distinct experiences in society where we all run to innovation. So I'll take this book and I'll make it better. Yes. I won't think to make a book and I won't trust myself enough to be able to create something of value. Talk to me about how you got to a place where you trusted. You spoke about faith earlier. Yeah. You spoke about you harnessing your own skill set, but I really want to understand the crux of you saying, I can invent, create something new on this planet.
Sheila, you've brought up a very good point, and I think we don't do enough speaking about these kind of things. The talks that you'll hear is, I'm a millionaire, I'm a billionaire. and we don't really teach people how did you become that millionaire, the nitty-gritties of it, and in the book I write about how to turn the gift into profit, how to start a revolution. So basically what I'm trying to do with that, I'm trying to sort of educate the reader that it doesn't matter. I talk about the union and revolutions and business, but it doesn't matter what gift you have. It doesn't matter what you want to do. Anything that you know, or when you're sitting with yourself. I spoke about you having time with yourself. I spend a lot of time with me, some people think I'm quiet. If you don't know me, you'll swear this guy doesn't speak. He's the shyest person. And I'm sure you'll tell a different story after today, So basically what I've realized and what I've come to learn is, as a person who may somewhat be an introvert, how do you now maximize yourself? Because I'm an introvert who can speak. So now how do we create a balance? So for me, it's that edge inside. For me, when I see injustices happening, it pains me personally. I take it personal. If I see someone being bullied, whether in the workspace, whether wherever, I take it personal. It's personal for me, and I feel like I should help. And a lot of things I do is from that point of view of saying, I want to make a change, I want to help someone, So for me, those are the kind of things that sort of push me. So what I can say to a listener who has a brilliant idea that you have, or you have not had it yet, because a lot of people have brilliant ideas that they don't even know they have it, because we don't spend time with ourselves. Like you said, people want to take someone who's wrote a book saying, I want to make it better. You don't think outside of that. When I started writing, books are sort of in their death these days. Yeah, we are moving now into the electronic space. But I was like, I'm going to write a book, and I'm going to do hard copies, and I'm going to sell those hard copies. So a bit of self-belief, a bit of dedication, a bit of hard work, because it doesn't come and I decide one day I want to write. When I start writing, I can actually write for 12 hours non-stop. So in essence, the whole book, I could have wrote it like let's say in 4 days, because when I start writing, I allow myself to be taken on that journey, and it gets done. So I can start writing maybe 3 a.m. Those are my working hours. And I can finish maybe 3 p.m. And I say, no, it's enough for today. Let me focus on life, and
I feel like I need a breather, please.
Channel Africa, bringing the African neighborhood together.
42 minutes after 4 p.m. Central African time. If you were listening or you just joined in and you caught the voice of a young superstar who is in the building, his name is Rito Chuma, and he's an author, a speaker, an activist, a carpenter, and I suspect other things are coming from you. What else can we expect from you, Rito? I mean, you said you work 12 hours non-stop. That, I think, is a very beautiful, without breaks.
Yeah.
How
When I get into my element,
Yes.
I told you about my work hours. I can start
Yes.
at 12 a.m. and until I finish what I started, I don't stop. Until I get to a point when I'm like, no, it's fine, it's enough for today. Let me go to sleep. I remember when I was still coordinating, working on the union, and we had meetings with company management. I would spend nights, awake, being worried first that the workers are in trouble. People are about to lose their jobs, their livelihoods. And I allow that pain to be inside me and to be part of me. And once that is done, the writing comes naturally. I'm able to write in a way that when you read it, you can see this person is fighting. This is not joking. He's really invested in what he's doing, And for me, that's how it works. So,
Wow.
Yeah.
So I'm stunned, firstly. I'm very shocked.
Don't
But
be.
I also want to find out what else you're working on currently. I mean, you have your business that you're currently running. It's Shishongi Holdings.
Yes.
And this is the carpentry business as well as branding,
Yes.
physical branding business,
Yeah,
right? Clothing, cups, mugs, the likes.
Yes.
What else can we expect from you?
So last week we're doing an event where I was inspiring young people, your teenagers, in the Sentin city. So that was about uplifting the young ones who are from impoverished communities. So what's on the line? What's coming in the coming year? We plan to go nationwide. Do these inspirational talks. Go to these. I'm from a village. I was born in the village. Didn't really grow up all my life in the village, but at some point, that's where I grew up. So we want to go back there, those villages, those outcasted areas, across the country. Go to those schools, speak to those children, motivate them. Say, here's a person who came from a rural area, was herding cows, and is now a carpenter, is now an entrepreneur, is now an author. So we want to do that in the coming year. So we'll be having sort of a nationwide tour where we go schools and places, and also we want to donate the books. We don't want to sell the books, especially the first one. I think for the young ones, it's a very important book. It's a life lesson. It's a life 101, even though the second one is leadership 101. I call them 101s because I don't go, I don't tell you of things that are unrealistic. I give you a daily life experience, and how I can sort of use my pen to be an author of the book, So that's the aim. And another event that we are having coming up in November the 19th, we're going to have a leadership event where we'll have some other leaders as well. I'll also be the panelist. We'll be talking leadership, the leadership aspect of Africa. How can we revive leadership? How do we work on accountability, in government, in the private sector? So basically the focus is more on developing leadership, ensuring that in Africa we have a new generation of leaders who actually care about the people and not money and not self-enrichment, And for me, that is the painful part, because our country, our continent now is filled with leaders who want to enrich themselves and forget the people. So once as a leader you have that moment where it pains you seeing someone hungry, you want to make a change. And so it's the same as an entrepreneur. If you see people struggling, that's a business idea right there, So yeah.
Wow. I think we'll leave it at that for today. Who knows? There might be a tomorrow, a next week,
Or next year.
Hey. Or tomorrow, because you want to come and be a radio host. I'm joking. Thank you so much for your time, Rito. Absolutely appreciated this conversation. I feel like I've walked away with so many take-homes from this conversation. And I think you've also inspired me to believe more in self, So I have to thank you again for just taking the time to come to studio and chat with us.
Well, it's my pleasure, and you've been a very good host. You've allowed me to shine. So
come on, somebody.
So I appreciate also the opportunity. Any opportunity for me where we can reach out to a lot of people, it's always welcome. And that's the whole point.
On that note, I'm going to give you the opportunity to leave people with 3 words.
Okay.
3 words that people should bear in mind when thinking of self, approaching life, approaching business, approaching any sphere.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, the one word I would say, you need to start. So I understand your question. You want words, but I'm an explainer.
I can
So
tell.
I'll tell a word and explain. Start in anything you have in your mind. If you don't start it, it's just in your mind. It will never become anything. Same as everything I've started in the mind, but I started. I started typing that book, and now it's a book. So that's the first word. The second word, inspire. Always aim to inspire the next person. Whatever I do must be positive to the next person, must bring positivity to my surroundings. So I must not do things because now it makes me happy. Yes, you have your things that make you happy, because in order to be a giving person, there needs to be an element of selfishness in you. So I can't give you if I'm not in a good space. I need to be in a good space so that I'm able to give, So that's it for me. So you said you want 3 words. Let me think of the third. I would just say read clearly, Blair.
Lovely, lovely. That was the voice of Rito Chuma, an author, speaker, and activist, and so much more. Looking forward to what you're going to be doing, particularly in this month and the months to follow.
That podcast was courtesy of Channel Africa, the African perspective.